In the sleek, glass-walled corporate office of Apex Innovations, the afternoon sun filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows over the polished conference table. The hum of computers and quiet murmurs of employees filled the air, a typical day punctuated by productivity and quiet ambition. Linda Harrison, the office manager with an air of unshakable authority, sat behind her desk, her fingers drumming impatiently. Her sharp eyes scanned the employee list displayed on her monitor, lingering on one name, Anthony Williams. Before going deeper into the story, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Drop a comment to let us know where you're watching from. Anthony Williams, a tall, composed man in his early 30s, stood by the water cooler a few feet away, chatting casually with a colleague. He was known around the office for his meticulous attention to detail and calm demeanor, a stark contrast to Linda's often curt and brisk style. As he turned, their eyes met briefly, Anthony offering a polite nod, Linda returning a tight, unreadable smile. Suddenly, the calm office atmosphere shifted. Linda stood abruptly, clutching a folder filled with documents, and strode purposefully toward Anthony. The chatter around the room dimmed as employees noticed the tension simmering between the two. Linda's voice, sharp and cold, sliced through the quiet. "Anthony," she said, her tone devoid of warmth, "I need you to come to my office, now." Anthony's brow furrowed slightly, confusion flickering across his face. "Is everything okay, Linda?" he asked, trying to mask the unease creeping in his chest. Linda's eyes narrowed. "We'll discuss that inside." Without waiting for a response, she turned and led the way down the hall, the echo of her heels marking the path. As they entered Linda's office, the door closed behind them with a definitive click. The room, usually a place of routine meetings and casual conversations, now felt like a chamber of judgment. Linda motioned to the chair opposite her desk, but Anthony remained standing, his stance steady but cautious. "Sit down, Anthony," Linda commanded. He hesitated but complied, lowering himself into the chair. Linda placed the folder on the desk and slid it toward him. "I'm terminating your employment effective immediately." The words hit Anthony like a blow. He blinked, trying to process the sudden announcement. "I don't understand." "Why?" "I've met all my targets and received positive feedback on my last project." Linda's expression hardened. "This isn't up for discussion. Your performance has been lacking in ways that can't be overlooked. We need someone who fits the company culture better." Anthony's voice cracked slightly, a mixture of disbelief and protest. "I'm dedicated to this company. I've worked late nights, gone beyond my responsibilities. There's no concrete reason for this." Linda leaned forward, her tone icy. "I've made my decision. You'll receive your final paycheck and details about your benefits. HR will be in touch." Outside the closed door, whispers began to ripple through the office. Colleagues exchanged glances, some shocked, others uncomfortable. Anthony's best friend in the office, Sam, lingered near the doorway, fists clenched as he watched the exchange unfold. Left alone, Anthony gathered himself, his mind racing. The abruptness of the firing felt less like a professional decision and more like a personal judgment. He recalled the subtle dismissiveness Linda had shown in meetings, the way she often overlooked his ideas, and the unspoken tension that had built over months. Back at her desk, Linda exhaled sharply, straightening her blouse. She glanced around the office, noting the quiet unease spreading among the staff. Her face was a mask of control, but beneath it lay a flicker of insecurity. She had always seen herself as the gatekeeper of Apex Innovations, protecting the company's image and standards. Yet, the decision to let Anthony go was not merely about his work. It was entangled with her own fears about change and the shifting dynamics within the office. As Anthony packed his belongings at his desk, co-workers approached with quiet sympathy. Jenna, a junior analyst, offered a tentative smile. "If you need anything, Anthony, just let me know." He nodded, appreciating the support but feeling isolated. The office, once a place of opportunity, now seemed fraught with unspoken biases and barriers. His mind lingered on the vague reasons Linda had given, not fitting the company culture, a phrase that felt heavy with implication but left unspoken. Meanwhile, Linda convened a quick meeting with her assistant, her voice low but firm. "Make sure the termination paperwork is processed today. I don't want any delays." Her assistant, a young woman named Claire, nodded, sensing the tension but unwilling to question Linda's decision. Throughout the office, murmurs grew. Some speculated about Anthony's sudden dismissal. Others felt a quiet frustration at the lack of transparency. A few glanced toward Linda's office, wondering if there was more beneath the surface. Anthony stepped out of the building into the late afternoon sun, the weight of the unexpected firing pressing down on him. His phone buzzed a message from a colleague simply saying, "We're here for you." But the question lingered in his mind. Why was he really let go? Was it truly about performance or something else? Inside the office, Linda sat back in her chair, unaware that the decision she had just made would soon unravel the carefully maintained order she had built. The company's true ownership, a detail few employees knew, was about to come to light, and with it, a reckoning that would challenge her authority and expose the biases underpinning her actions. As the office lights dimmed with the setting sun, an undercurrent of change began to stir quiet at first, but growing louder with each passing moment. Anthony's termination was only the first ripple in a wave that would soon sweep through Apex Innovations, forcing every employee to confront uncomfortable truths about power, prejudice, and justice within their workplace. The morning after Anthony's sudden dismissal, the atmosphere in Apex Innovations was thick with unease. The usual chatter by the coffee machine was subdued. Employees exchanged cautious glances and whispered in hushed tones, the news spreading like wildfire. Anthony's absence was felt immediately. Known for his steady presence and meticulous work, his sudden departure left a palpable void. Jenna, the junior analyst who had offered quiet support the day before, sat at her desk staring at her screen. She replayed the conversation she'd overheard between Linda and Claire, the assistant. Linda's clipped orders and curt dismissal of any questions gnawed at Jenna's conscience. She couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was at play. Across the office, Sam sat at his cubicle, his jaw clenched. He hadn't spoken to Linda directly, but had always sensed her coldness toward Anthony. Sam had worked alongside Anthony for years and knew his dedication firsthand. The vague explanation of not fitting the company culture felt like a thinly veiled excuse, one that masked a prejudice simmering beneath the surface. Meanwhile, Linda returned to her office, her posture rigid, but her mind restless. She had spent years climbing the ranks, convinced that maintaining a strict, no-nonsense approach was the key to success. Yet, the decision to terminate Anthony felt like a calculated risk, a choice driven not only by claimed performance issues, but by an unspoken discomfort with the changing faces and ideas emerging within the company. Linda's insecurities had long been rooted in a desire to protect what she considered the company's identity. Apex Innovations was a place she had helped shape, and the arrival of diverse voices and leadership threatened the control she wielded. She feared that embracing change might erode her authority. In a quiet corner of the office, Anthony sat in a small cafe, his laptop open but untouched. The sting of his firing lingered. But so did the determination to understand what had really happened. He began to reflect on his months at Apex, the late nights spent refining projects, the presentations where his ideas were sometimes overlooked, and the subtle dismissals from Linda. He realized that while his work had been praised in some circles, there had always been an undercurrent of skepticism directed at him. Back at the office, murmurs of dissent grew louder. Employees gathered in small groups, questioning the fairness of Linda's decision. Some feared speaking out, worried about repercussions, while others debated quietly about what the phrase company culture really meant. Was it an inclusive environment, or a convenient euphemism to exclude those who didn't fit a particular mold? Jenna decided to act. After hours, she stayed behind, drafting an email to the company's human resources department. She outlined her concerns about the lack of transparency and the potential for bias in managerial decisions. Her hands trembled slightly as she hesitated before hitting send, aware that this could put her in the spotlight. Meanwhile, Linda convened a meeting with her senior staff. Her voice was firm as she addressed the room, attempting to project control. "We need to move forward. Anthony's departure is final. I expect everyone to maintain professionalism and focus on our goals." Yet, beneath her composed exterior, Linda felt the walls closing in. She noticed the sideways glances, the whispered conversations, and the subtle shifts in behavior. The office was no longer the orderly environment she had cultivated. It was fracturing. Unbeknownst to most employees, Apex Innovations was undergoing a quiet, significant shift in ownership. The company's structure had been opaque, with the true authority residing with a small group of investors. Among them was a figure whose identity had been deliberately kept under wraps, a fact that Linda both relied on and feared. Anthony's close friend Sam took matters into his own hands, reaching out to contacts within the industry. He sought information about the company's ownership, hoping to find leverage or at least clarity. His efforts uncovered rumors of an impending change in leadership, a new owner preparing to take the helm and shake up the status quo. The news spread through the office like a spark. Employees speculated about who this new figure might be and what it would mean for their futures. Some hoped for progressive change. Others worried about their positions. Linda, catching wind of these rumors, grew increasingly defensive. She called an impromptu meeting with her assistant Claire, her voice low and urgent. "We need to control the narrative. If this new owner is planning to challenge me, I won't go down without a fight." Claire nodded but looked uneasy. She had noticed the growing divide among staff and sensed that the company was on the brink of upheaval. Meanwhile, Anthony found himself at a crossroads. Despite the setback, he felt a growing resolve to not only clear his name, but to expose the biases embedded in the company's culture. He began reaching out to former colleagues and industry mentors, gathering support and advice. One afternoon, Jenna approached Sam cautiously in the break room. "I sent that email to HR," she confessed. "I'm worried it might backfire, but I couldn't stay silent." Sam placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did the right thing. We need voices like yours if things are going to change." Elsewhere, Linda prepared for a routine performance review session, though her mind was elsewhere. She reviewed files, her gaze lingering on Anthony's records. Despite her insistence on his failings, some reports highlighted his achievements and commendations. She pushed the evidence aside, unwilling to confront what it implied. The growing tension within Apex Innovations was palpable. Employees found themselves caught between loyalty to their work and the desire for fairness and transparency. Conversations about diversity, inclusion, and workplace bias began to surface, often in quiet, tentative ways. Amidst this, the unseen hand of the company's ownership moved closer to the spotlight. The impending arrival of the new owner promised to challenge not only Linda's authority, but the very culture she had enforced. As the days passed, the question lingering in every mind was clear. Would Apex Innovations embrace change and accountability, or would it cling to outdated prejudices and power structures? The answer, no one yet knew. But the stage was set for a confrontation that would force every employee to reckon with the truths hidden beneath the polished surface of their workplace. The morning sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Apex Innovations, illuminating an office still thick with whispered conversations and cautious glances. The air was charged, a blend of anticipation and uncertainty that had settled over the company since Anthony's sudden termination and the rumors of new ownership. Employees gathered in small clusters, their hushed voices weaving speculation and hope into the fabric of the day. Linda Harrison sat at her desk, her fingers tightening around a steaming cup of coffee. Her usual composed demeanor was fraying at the edges. She had spent the previous days trying to quell the unrest, asserting her authority in meetings and sending reassurances through terse emails. Yet, the growing murmurs about the new owner unsettled her deeply. This was a threat she hadn't prepared for. Just as she was about to dial into a conference call, the office door swung open, and a woman entered with a quiet but commanding presence. The room seemed to still, every pair of eyes turning toward the newcomer. Jasmine Walker stepped inside, her poised elegance and confident stride immediately capturing attention. Her dark eyes scanned the room, sharp and assessing. "I'm Jasmine Walker," she announced, her voice clear and steady. "I am the new owner of Apex Innovations." A collective intake of breath rippled through the office. Linda's face paled, her grip on the coffee cup loosening. The woman who had been their unseen authority, the name whispered in rumors, was now standing before them in flesh and voice. Jasmine moved forward, setting down a sleek leather portfolio on the conference table. "I've been observing the company's operations for some time, albeit discreetly. Today, I intend to address some critical matters." Linda rose, attempting to mask her surprise with a veneer of composure. "Ms. Walker, welcome. I trust you'll find the company well managed." Jasmine's eyes locked with Linda's, unflinching. "Management, Ms. Harrison, is more than maintaining appearances. It requires fairness, inclusivity, and accountability. I've reviewed recent actions taken within this office, including the termination of Mr. Anthony Williams." Linda's throat tightened. That decision was made in accordance with company policy. His performance was unsatisfactory. Jasmine's gaze softened but remained firm. "Performance must be judged objectively, free from bias. From what I've seen, Mr. Williams's dismissal raises serious concerns about fairness and potential prejudice." The room held its breath as Jasmine continued. "I am here to ensure Apex Innovations reflects the values it professes: diversity, respect, and equal opportunity. This begins with revisiting decisions that affect our team and challenging attitudes that undermine these principles." Linda's voice was sharper now, defensive. "With all due respect, Ms. Walker, I've served this company for years. I understand its culture and what it takes to maintain order." Jasmine shook her head gently. "Culture should evolve, not exclude. It's time to embrace change." The tension was palpable as Jasmine addressed the wider team. "I will be reinstating Mr. Williams immediately and conducting a thorough review of our workplace policies. This includes mandatory training to foster an inclusive environment." Murmurs of approval and relief spread among the employees. Sam exchanged a glance with Jenna, both silently acknowledging the shift that had just begun. Linda stood frozen, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. For the first time, her authority was openly questioned, her judgment scrutinized by the very person who now held the power to reshape the company's future. Jasmine's presence was more than symbolic. It was a catalyst. She outlined a vision for Apex Innovations that included open forums for employee feedback, transparent performance evaluations, and a zero-tolerance stance on discrimination. As the meeting adjourned, Jasmine approached Linda privately. "This isn't a personal attack, Linda. It's an opportunity for you, for Anthony, and for the entire company to grow." Linda nodded slowly, a mixture of resistance and reluctant acceptance stirring within her. She realized that clinging to old ways was no longer viable, that the company and perhaps she herself needed to change. Outside the conference room, employees buzzed with renewed energy. The unexpected arrival of Jasmine had not only disrupted the status quo, but ignited a collective hope for fairness and respect. Anthony received the news of his reinstatement with cautious optimism. He understood the road ahead would be challenging but felt empowered, knowing that leadership was now aligned with principles he had long hoped for. Jasmine's quiet but firm takeover signaled a turning point. Her arrival was a reminder that true leadership listens, learns, and leads by example, and that no one's voice should be silenced by prejudice or fear. Within the walls of Apex Innovations, a transformation had begun, one that promised to redefine the company's culture and set a new standard for justice and inclusivity in the workplace. The office of Apex Innovations buzzed with a renewed sense of purpose as Jasmine Walker's decisive intervention began to unfold. The atmosphere that had been heavy with tension and uncertainty was gradually replaced by cautious optimism. Employees moved with a quiet determination, eager to see tangible changes take root after the upheaval that had shaken the company's foundation. In a brightly lit conference room, Jasmine sat at the head of a long table, flanked by members of the management team. Anthony Williams, now reinstated, was present, his posture steady, his gaze resolute. Across from them, Linda Harrison sat silently, her expression a blend of apprehension and reflection, the weight of recent events settling in. "Let's begin," Jasmine said, her voice calm but authoritative. "First, I want to formally apologize to Anthony for the unjust treatment he endured. This company failed him, and it's our responsibility to make things right." Anthony nodded, appreciating the acknowledgement, but aware that words alone weren't enough. Jasmine continued. "We will be launching a comprehensive review of our workplace policies to ensure fairness and equity. This includes mandatory diversity and inclusion training for all employees, starting immediately." Linda shifted in her seat, the reality of being under scrutiny pressing on her. Jasmine addressed her directly. "Linda, I know this may be difficult, but it's important that we confront any biases that have influenced decisions here. I expect full cooperation as we work to create a more inclusive environment." Linda's voice was quiet but sincere. "I understand. I want to learn and improve." The meeting progressed with discussions about establishing clear channels for employee feedback and implementing transparent performance evaluations. Jasmine emphasized that accountability would be a cornerstone of the company's future. Outside the meeting room, word spread quickly. Employees whispered about the changes, some expressing relief, others cautiously hopeful. Jenna gathered with a small group near the break room, her eyes bright with newfound confidence. "This is a turning point," she said. "For the first time, I feel like we're being heard." Sam nodded in agreement. "It's about more than policies. It's about respect, something Anthony deserved all along." Meanwhile, Linda found herself grappling with introspection. She scheduled time with a workplace diversity coach, determined to confront her own prejudices and adapt to the evolving culture Jasmine was fostering. The process was uncomfortable but necessary. In the days that followed, Anthony returned to his duties with a renewed sense of purpose. His colleagues welcomed him back warmly, and his presence became a symbol of resilience and justice within the office. He began volunteering to lead discussions on equity, sharing his experiences to educate and inspire others. Jasmine's leadership extended beyond internal reforms. She initiated mentorship programs aimed at nurturing talent from underrepresented groups, ensuring that diversity was not just a goal but a lived reality. Regular town halls allowed employees to voice concerns openly, fostering transparency and trust. The ripple effects of these changes were evident. Productivity improved as employees felt valued and supported. The office environment transformed from one of guarded caution to collaborative energy. One afternoon, Jasmine paused in the hallway, watching teams engaged in lively brainstorming sessions. She smiled, knowing that the journey toward equity was ongoing but that significant strides had been made. Linda approached her, carrying a folder of notes from a recent workshop. "Thank you for this opportunity, Jasmine. I'm committed to being part of the change." Jasmine nodded appreciatively. "It's a collective effort. Together, we can build a company that truly reflects our values." As the weeks turned into months, Apex Innovations flourished under its renewed culture. The lessons learned from Anthony's experience became embedded in the company's ethos, a reminder of the importance of vigilance against bias and the power of inclusive leadership. Employees like Jenna and Sam found their voices strengthened, contributing to a workplace where diversity was celebrated and every individual's contribution mattered. Anthony's journey from dismissal to advocacy inspired many, embodying the transformative potential of justice and empathy. The company's story became one of redemption and growth, a testament to what can be achieved when leadership embraces accountability and champions fairness. Within the walls of Apex Innovations, a new chapter was being written, one defined by respect, opportunity, and the unwavering belief that true success comes not just from profits, but from people empowered to thrive. Months had passed since Jasmine Walker took the helm of Apex Innovations, and the company was unmistakably transformed. The once tense atmosphere was now infused with a spirit of collaboration and inclusivity that permeated every corner. Hallways echoed with diverse voices, sharing ideas freely, and conference rooms buzzed with creative energy. The change was not just cosmetic, it was foundational. In the sleek, modern conference room, Jasmine convened a quarterly leadership meeting. Around the polished table sat department heads, including a more confident Linda Harrison, who now actively championed diversity initiatives. Anthony Williams, seated beside Jasmine, had become a trusted advisor and advocate within the company. His journey from wrongful dismissal to empowered leader had inspired many. Jasmine opened the meeting with a clear, deliberate tone. "We have made significant progress in fostering an equitable workplace, but our work is far from done. Today, I want to discuss the launch of our new mentorship and career development programs designed specifically to uplift underrepresented employees." Jenna, now a team leader, nodded enthusiastically. "These programs have already started to impact morale and retention positively. It's encouraging to see employees taking ownership of their growth." Sam added, "The transparent performance reviews and open forums have built trust. People feel seen and heard, which translates into greater engagement." Linda, reflecting on her earlier resistance, spoke with earnest humility. "I've learned a great deal about my own biases and the importance of ongoing education. It's been a challenging but rewarding journey." Jasmine smiled, acknowledging the collective commitment. "Accountability and continuous learning are key pillars of our culture. We're also implementing a company-wide scholarship fund to support professional development and innovation. Anthony, I'd like you to help lead the initiative." Anthony accepted the responsibility with quiet determination. "I'm honored. It's important that we create pathways for others to succeed without facing the barriers I encountered." Outside the meeting, the impact of these efforts was visible. Employees across departments reported higher job satisfaction, and the company's reputation as an inclusive employer attracted a wider pool of talent. Recruitment efforts emphasized diversity, equity, and inclusion as core values, resonating with candidates eager to contribute to a progressive workplace. In the office lounge, Jenna and Sam discussed the changes over coffee. "It's incredible how far we've come," Jenna remarked. "I never imagined I'd be part of such a supportive team." Sam nodded. "It shows the power of leadership that listens and acts." Jasmine's arrival was a turning point. Anthony, joining them, shared his vision for the future. "I want to continue advocating for fairness, not just here but across the industry. Our experience can serve as a model." Meanwhile, Linda had taken on a mentorship role herself, guiding new managers through the challenges of fostering inclusive teams. She often reflected on her journey from resistance to advocacy and encouraged others to embrace growth. Jasmine's leadership extended beyond internal policies. She established partnerships with community organizations and educational institutions to promote STEM education among underserved populations. The company's scholarship fund, named the Anthony Williams Scholarship, became a beacon for aspiring professionals from diverse backgrounds. At a company event celebrating the scholarship recipients, Jasmine addressed the audience. "Our commitment to equity is not just a policy, it's a promise. We believe in nurturing talent and breaking down barriers so everyone has the opportunity to thrive." The event was filled with hopeful faces, students, employees, and leaders united by a shared vision for a fairer future. Anthony stood beside Jasmine, his presence a testament to resilience and the transformative power of justice. Apex Innovation's story had evolved from one marked by prejudice and exclusion to one defined by empowerment and change. The company's journey underscored the necessity of confronting biases, embracing accountability, and fostering leadership that values every individual. In quiet moments, Jasmine reflected on the path that had brought them here. The challenges faced and overcome were reminders that progress required courage and commitment. The legacy they were building was one of inclusion, respect, and opportunity, a legacy that would inspire others long after today. As the sun set over the city skyline, the lights inside Apex Innovations shone brightly, a beacon of hope and a symbol of what true leadership and justice could achieve. If you loved the story, like the video and subscribe.